I'm visiting with Mitchell City Council candidate Clay Loneman. He's seeking the council seat in Ward 1. Clay, why are you running for city council?
Well, it's the same reason, I ran as last year. We just want to bring young representation to the council, bring a couple of different new perspectives. There's a couple things that I talked about at the candidate forum here in Mitchell that a lot of people never thought of. And then last year, from what I've noticed from everybody in the city who is running this year, is a lot of people have actually looked at my campaign from last year and picked and pieced a lot of different things from my campaign. So, in looking at that just makes it reaffirms me running again. Obviously my ideas are good for the city and other people think so too.
Clay, what special skills or knowledge would you bring to city government?
Well, I have a degree in criminal justice. I used to be a deputy sheriff, have a homeland security and emergency management certificate. It's the same things pretty much as I had last year, only now I have a bachelor's degree. I have a younger perspective on everything, kind of look at things from a millennial's perspective, which isn't always a good thing. And, a lot of people will say that, but I think I also bring the fact that, a lot of people think millennials are bad. Well, I can show that, we can think outside of the box and think in the future tense as well and help out the city in the long run.
What do you believe should be the city's top 3 priorities over the next 3 years?
I think infrastructure, public safety, and just a vision for how the city should be in general. Like I said over a couple of my Facebook posts, and I wrote to the paper, but they didn't publish my piece. We should be looking at a vision for the future over the next decade here. And we had the Focus 2020 plan put on by regional influencers and business members and stuff like that, but the city never took part of it. Mel Olson talked about during our forum that we have a plan and we do all of these things, but not very many people in Mitchell know about the plan, and not very many people take part in that plan. So maybe we should sit down and take that decade-long catchy name 2030, whatever it's going to be, and set forth here what we should want in our region to happen, because the Focus 2020 was just put on by business people. Well, the city should be a part of that too. Why are we letting business people and people who aren't involved with the city government tell us what needs to happen?
Regarding Lake Mitchell improvement, how much do you believe the city should be willing to spend once a viable option is agreed upon?
Well, I said $50 million at the forum, but I found out, that it's not really like a set thing for me. It's however much the city is willing to spend, and I think that people have made that very clear through their voices. $87 million is too much, and that's the top number that I've heard so far. But I think whatever the amount is has to be put to a vote, because that's a lot of money. The taxes that would have to cover that is a lot of money, and not just the city of Mitchell here has been spending a lot of money lately to increase our taxes. We've seen the school board, we've seen the county. There's a lot of things going on here that play into that, and we have to consider all of those things when we decide to spend that final dollar.
What have been your sources of information regarding the Lake Mitchell project?
Well, just what the city has published, as a part of the fire project, or, Tara Valesky's brought in other opinions. But I think that the fire project is probably our best bet in this aspect, because we can't just Band-Aid a problem or look at a chemical to fix our problem. We have to fix the problem overall. And the fact that this is happening all over the United States tells us that a simple chemical isn't going to fix it. That would be a simple fix for the entire United States that's having the same issue right now, and that's just not the case. We have to look at the watershed project. I think is the best option.
Clay, what are your thoughts of placing the final decision regarding the Lake Mitchell project in the voters' hands?
I'd already said it before, actually. So I think that the voters should have the final vote in everything, whether that be through the council members or the vote. But I actually think that this should be put directly to a public vote on a referendum or an initiative, because it's such a large amount of money.
Mitchell Main Street and Beyond is working toward establishing a business improvement district to raise funds for improving Mitchell's Main Street area. What financial commitment should the city offer to help the project succeed, or should the city stay clear?
I think the city should stay clear, but enable whoever wants to put taxes on themselves to do so. And I think that if the businesses on Main Street vote to do that, then that's their prerogative. The properties and businesses on Main Street own businesses on Main Street. I have no dog in that battle. I have no businesses on Main Street, unlike other candidates on Main Street. So I'm kind of unbiased in this aspect. I think if people want to tax themselves, that's all I'm all for it. But if we want to try and tax the city of Mitchell for more money to try and make Main Street look better, well, we better create a better plan than the BID just to do it.
What are your thoughts regarding improving the city's infrastructure over the next 5 years?
I think that should be a major thing. We have people on Rowley right now who are getting not so clear water, and it's kind of rusty, to be honest with you, or dirty. That's one of the major things that I'm running on is clean water. Along with Lake Mitchell being clean, that's something else that I've been running on with public safety and whatnot. So that would become our drinking water too at some point with if something were to happen emergency-wise along the river. So clean water is definitely something that I look at, and that's part of it. That's a big part of infrastructure in Mitchell, where our pipes are getting very old. But infrastructure in terms of roads, we've been working on Burr Street, and we are on Sanborn now. The bypass will have to be done right after Sanborn, from my understanding. So we'll have to look at that as it happens. But I think as long as we keep up with it and try and get ahead of it, it's better. It's a better option.
How do you feel the city council is doing in setting the city's spending plan, and what ideas do you have for improving it?
Well, I think some spending could be shifted in different places. I think public safety could probably use a little bit more. We constantly hear complaints about new drugs and things hitting the streets here in Mitchell. I would personally like to see more school resource officers in Mitchell, and it doesn't take very much money to do that. You know, maybe $100,000, which in the grand scheme of things sounds like a lot of money, but really that's just like 2 employees. So looking at it from that aspect, shifting a little bit of money from different places, we can look to see, you know, different goals, and everybody has different goals, and I'm willing to listen to all of that. So one of the biggest things that I've always been running on is that I'm willing to take it to the council even if I don't win. So if someone has a concern or something, that's definitely something that I want to hear. And if they have an idea of what they want to see the spending shift in Mitchell on, that's something I want to hear.
Do you believe city councilors should focus on the needs and interests of their wards or the city as a whole?
Well, I ran kind of as an at-large candidate last year, and I'm still kind of doing the same now as a ward candidate, but as the Ward 1 candidate again. But I also think that we should respect the people in our ward and how we vote. You know, we are separated into districts for a reason. You know, if people in Ward 1 disagree with the decision that the rest of the wards agree on, we should be voicing that opinion. You know, otherwise we're out of reach of our constituents, so to say. And I think that we should always be working for our constituents. So I would definitely say that if the ward that you're working for says no to something, you should reflect that, not vote in the city and the citywide vote aspect.
What do you feel your role as a city councilor is in maintaining order and decorum during council meetings, and would you support additional training to achieve that goal?
Well, actually, I was a sergeant at arms in high school for the student council there, and I also was, you know, the president of the College Democrats here in Mitchell. So it was my job to ensure that the Roberts Rules of Order were followed. Well, we're pretty lax on that in the city council here. We run our own rules, our version of the rules. And I think Mel Olson, if he were to get mayor, would actually be a good person for that. He's spent a long time in the high school and in debate and a lot of different activities over there, and I think he's very familiar with that. But that being said, other candidates, you know, they might need training too. So I think training for all of the council members and everybody would be valuable for anybody because, in my opinion, there's no such thing as too much training for something. You can always prepare better.
Clay, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
You know, I've ran for the last 2 years, and my platform is very little change. But I've like I've said before in this interview, you know, a lot of people have picked up my ideas, and I think that says a lot. Last year, I ran and got approximately 27% of the vote in my ward, and I think that says a lot too. You know, people want change in this city, and it might not necessarily be in my ward, but I talked to a lot of people and this year and last year, and most of them have said that they either like where the city is going but want a slight change or want a major change. And I hope that either way I can facilitate that change that they want. Frankly, I just ask for your vote on June 5th.
And that's Clay Loneman. He's a candidate for City Council in Ward 1.